protecting margins is a commonly used phrase in the sales world, but if we reframe it to protecting your brand, how does that change the way you think about decisions with price points? And it's one thing. Okay, we'll protect your margin. Well, what's an extra point, John? What's an extra couple points, man? We get the order; it's big, right? But at what point does that extra point or two to that customer become? Well, you gave up a couple before. Maybe we'll see if we can get you to give up more.
That's it. It's
And
that it's so easy to get goaded into bad precedent, and then you're always fighting that bad precedent. Like you can't, and that's a tough call, right? Because I've been in organizations before where it was, hey, if you can make a buck off this like wireless phone deal and then load them up with accessories, like that's a win. So do anything you can to steal their business from the competitor. And then you work for other organizations where you see some of the massive historical discounts that have been given, and then you're told, well, protect the margins. Nope, you can't discount, you can't do this and that. And it's like, then you feel kind of hamstrung. So it's tricky, and there's only a certain number of people too that you can empower to make those kinds of decisions. Like, I feel like I can walk into any deal situation, figure out, as long as I'm with the power, and ultimately I've got to get there, but get to the power, understand the timelines, understand where they are from a budgetary perspective, and then ask for a respectful increase over what they've budgeted. But you've got to develop the relationship first, and eventually, and you've got to have a strong enough relationship where you can challenge them back when they say exactly what you just said. Well, John, it's just another point or so.
yeah,
I agree. That's a tricky one, and it's a tough tight rope to walk.
yeah, and it's hard to because like there's two components. So we have the sales team component on how to view this process differently when you're in front of your client, and when to push back and when to say no and when to accept. And then there's the customer that has been trained to previously with either previous reps from your existing company or whatever it was. They've already been trained that, well, they'll just continue to drop until I get. That's just the way it's always been at that company. So right now when I joined, like you guys are in much different spaces from a company size, like different planet. When I joined, I was employee number 9, and now we're like 45, 50 people. So I mean, still, like, you guys have more people in your washroom at one time than we have in our entire company. But for us, like, it still has changed, right? Because the dynamic when I came on board was sell low and sell lots. And then we decided, well, we want to change our brand. We want to change our brand image. So now it's not sell low and sell lots, but it's sell brand and sell quality and sell the right things. So you have customers that are just used to like going to the bottom, but you also have sales individuals that have to change their minds because they are just used to, well, this is where I've lived. Now you want me to live here? Why do you want me to live here now? That doesn't make any sense. And it's hard to get people to wrap their brains around brand, and you will ultimately make more money. You will have more sustainable business because when you're dealing with dollars and cents and low, it's short time. It'll die eventually, and somebody else will come in a nickel cheaper, and you're out. But if you live and die off brand, you'll always be there. But it's hard to
You
change.
nailed it. You
Oh,
nailed it.
right there, right
You've got
there.
to build the story, because you've got to almost show the trajectory of what that brand was worth
Mm.
5 years ago when we did drop our price substantially, and show the value add that's come since then. Talk about the story, how we've grown headcount by 500%. We've done that because of this and that. These are some of the changes we've made to process. So you see this and you see this price, but this is the value add that exists now, and that's the branding piece. I've had that same conversation every organization that I've ever worked in, because prices always increase, but you've got to be able to tell that story around why the price increased because of the value add that got you from here to here. And from a sales perspective, you have to arm the sellers with that story. You have to put it out there in a way that they can understand and articulate it to clients. It doesn't always work, because at the end of the day, they're still going to say, well, you're just raising your price on me. You're just increasing price by 20%. That's just not fair. As long as you can arm them with the story, you've got a shot. But that's also a perfect reason to come out with multiple acceptable offers. When I seek discounting, I'm going to seek this, but I'm going to present this with the opportunity to trade down to this and this before I get to this. So, just my thoughts. Matt, what were you going to say?
What am I going to say? I'm wishing that I was taking notes right now. This is so good. Like the whole, this is so good. Like I cannot wait to listen to it again, but I mean, you're right. We are in an age now where price is, it's just there. What story are you selling? What value adds are you selling? I tell people, this is what I tell my restaurant customers. I said, listen, there's 3 things that every supplier has: product, price, and delivery. We're all going to get the same stuff to your back door, okay? We're all going to give you green beans. We're all going to give you flooring. We're all going to give you toasted ravioli. Price, we're all going to be in the same ballpark because we're buying from the same manufacturers. Delivery, we're going to get it there because we have to get it there. But it's what are we doing beyond the PPD or the product price delivery to make your business successful and to make you a repeat customer week in, week out, year in, year out. And what are we doing to be your partner? I told the guy yesterday, he's like, well, this guy might give me $5,000. And I said, what are you going to do with that $5,000? I mean, I don't want to become a high investment loan shark out there on the streets by just giving people money to do business. Like, let's find a way to make you more than $5,000 rather than us just give it to you. And then that partnership's, you're in a 2-year commitment or 3-year commitment because we gave you money. That's not a partnership.
The other big challenge that you run into, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this too, John, is that, when you, as a seller, you're often, you're talking to somebody who also has to answer to somebody. Mm-hmm. And far too often, I think sellers are selling to the wrong person. And they're also hoping, wishing, praying that the person that they're selling to is effectively articulate and sell the person that they report to, who at the end of it is just basically going to say, this is what we had budgeted. And it's a hard number. So that person, even if they have their best intentions in play, you're selling to this person that's going to go back to them. You're hoping that this person sells that leader effectively, but they're going to walk in, they're going to say, hey, I met with John today, I met with Matt, and this is what they presented. Well, we can't afford that. And then the conversation just dies because they're not willing to stick themselves out there to sell your product. So I think that's the other reason why it's so important that we have those influencer relationships as sellers. I think a lot of people look up and they've got this deal, right? It could be Q4, and you're trying to get this critical deal done, or you're in the throes of putting a deal together, and you realize I don't have the critical relationships that I need to make this deal happen, and I'm not leveraging all the resources at my disposal. I think we leave too much on the table. Like, we've got to, I don't want to leave anything to chance. It's a control game. Control what you can control. I need to have every variable that I can control under wraps. Now, some of them may shut me out. I may not be able to get this decision maker relationship, but I guarantee you I can get this one, this one, this one, and some of the other people that talk to them. So even if this guy won't talk to me now, I'll get there eventually because I'm going to swarm that relationship and try to create that relationship that I don't have, so that I don't have to rely on this person in procurement to sell this person. I just have to make sure that I've got all the relationships that matter, that influence, and ultimately let the dominoes fall.
Yeah. Layered relationships, man. I agree. Like that's the way, like, I know for me, my business, I have relationships with my top customers leadership team. So I know that if there is a buyer sell situation where the buyer has a budget, me as the seller has a price point, and they're not married, that it can't stop there. If they're one of my top customers, I have to be able to get in touch with and have a conversation with the buyer and the buyer's manager that arguably is, to your point, says, nope, sorry, it doesn't meet our budget, they're out. Well, you have to have that layered relationship to get that message to them. But I think if you look at it from the other way too, how many times do a sales rep come back to the leader and say, this is what they want to pay? And the leader doesn't know the parameters. The sales rep doesn't gather the right information, can't come back and say, here's the value add. If we hit this price today, this is what we will arguably get in the future. This is the opportunity We could increase over time. We could do X, Y, and Z, but we got to take this.